afternoon. I'm talking to Dr. Richard Schaffer, radiation oncologist who treats patients with Dupuytren's and Lederhost. Richard, can you tell me, can the radiotherapy reduce pain for Dupuytren's patients?
Thanks, Anna. So, as you know, we use radiation for Lederhost disease. And, Lederhost disease, in other words, having nodules on your feet, the issue with those is bulkiness, but also pain and tenderness. And so we very specifically use radiation to reduce that pain and tenderness and increase mobility. And we know that in those patients, that around 70 or 80% of patients get an improvement in their pain and tenderness. And so we know that plantar fibromatosis or Lederhost disease is basically the same disease as Dupuytren's disease in the hand. But the difference is that on the feet, pain is the main issue that we treat people for. And that's really because people are walking on their feet. And so, the ground is touched, or the shoe is touching the nodules. And that's what people come to the clinic for. In Dupuytren's disease, the main issue is that the nodules form cords. And then, of course, they form a contracture for which people need surgery. Now, often in the literature, we read that Dupuytren's doesn't cause pain. But actually, we know that Dupuytren's absolutely can be painful and tender. For some people, it's not. For some people, it's tender for a while, and then that tenderness goes once the Dupuytren's disease is less active. But some people do have ongoing tenderness. And so I do have people coming to me saying, look, I've got tender nodules in various places in my palm. Can you do something for the pain? And also, sometimes people have Garrod's pads, which are tender nodules on their knuckles as well, which again is the same disease. It's basically Dupuytren's on the knuckles. And the answer I always say is this is the same disease as Lederhost disease on the feet. And my experience is that radiotherapy can reduce the pain and tenderness, probably in up to about 70% of people. It can also reduce the size of the nodules in some people. However, the response to radiotherapy for pain and size of the nodules does to some extent depend on what the nodules feel like when you examine them and how long they've been there for. It's a pretty complex mix of factors. And, but in general terms, if they've been there for a long time, they're very hard and fibrous and scarred, it's less likely they're going to change in size. And with radiotherapy, it might stop them growing further, but they may well become harder. If they're very new, very soft, very tender, then in my experience, they will respond much better to radiotherapy in terms of reducing the tenderness, reducing the size of the nodules, and sometimes making things feel a little bit more flexible afterwards. So I always like to examine people before I answer that question. But certainly if you've got very tender, very active nodules that are currently growing, then I think that radiotherapy definitely has something to add in a majority of patients.
Great, thank you.